Hello, so today we'll start to comment round 10. First of all, I want to say that it's quite a long round, even two games are still playing. I mean, games Vidit against Prague Ananda and Dubov against Grandelius. But nothing important in leadership was happened. Please confirm that you can hear me well. Dubov ended how? Draw? Is it draw in Dubov game? Dubov lost. What about Vidit? Grandelius won. And what about Vidit? Still playing? Oh, hello. Okay. So Vidit is still playing. Okay. So first of all, what I want to say, I remember during the some last streams, it was I read in chat wishes to show the game between Dingliren and Grishchuk from 2019 from Gashimov Memorial. But okay, I just find one game between them. So it was opening d4, knight f6, c4, g6, f3, c5. F3, C5, D5, E6, something like this. Knight C3, takes, D6, E4, Bishop G7, Knight G2, something like this. And it was quite a long game, and Dingliren won in move 77, something like this. Okay, of course I can comment this game, but I just want to be sure if it is exactly this game, because usually spectators want to see some brilliant or not so long games, but okay, this game very complicated and very long. Okay, so I just want to check if this is really what my listeners wants. So okay, let's try to see Jean-Claude Mamediaro. G3, d takes c4, bishop g2, bishop b4, bishop d2, a5. So Mamediarov is repeating same line as he played against Magnus. So we remember very well that Magnus played castle, castle e3, and now Mamediarov played rook a6 and lost after complicated battle. Another very natural move is knight c6 now, with idea to prepare e5. For example, queen c2, e5, it's quite a good, because knight takes e5, knight takes e5, d takes e5, knight g4, and White cannot protect his pawn on f4 because his pawn e5 is f4 because e3 is hanging. If, for example, bishop takes b4, a takes b4, queen takes queen e7, everything looks like fine for black, because next move they will take pawn on e5. White cannot protect it. But okay, Mamediarov played rook a6. It was game against Magnus, so also I want to attract attention that Shankland and also Carlsen starts with knight f3 and only after d5 g3, so probably they doesn't want to play this line. And now White has choice between knight f3, c takes d4, knight takes d4, English opening, or Benoni defense. After d5, e takes d6, knight c3, g6, knight f3, bishop g7, bishop g2, castle, castle. Rook e8 and go on. Rook e8 is not necessary, there are other options, but okay, so they prefer to start with knight f3, because if now c5, white can play d5, and if okay, I'm not in the mood to play at least today, so I prepared to analyze. So here, for example, after g6, g3 is possible as well, but white has also more active ideas here, like e4 or bishop f4 as well. For example, bishop f4, a6, a4, bishop g7, h3, castle, e3. So very popular system now. Okay, so now queen c2 is very popular line as well, but Shanklin chose a3. Now black has important choice, so Shahryar took on why not b6, b4 to avoid a5. Sorry, in which moment b6? I don't understand. Where b6? Can you explain me your idea? When you play a4. Here b6. Okay, but first of all, black need to finish his development, and a5 at the moment it's not a threat. So usually after bishop g7, white is playing h3 to have h2 square. After knight h5, so after castle e3, then slowly bishop e2, castle, and only then decide. So the white is not hurry with a5, for example. If play a5, black can start immediately b5 and takes on b6, and white still need to finish development. So, or probably just play rook e8 is totally possible. So usually white is not hurry with a5 in this variation, so I don't see a big reason to hurry with b6. But in the future, yes, when development will be completed, sometimes black can consider b6 idea, but this is not just necessary. Okay, so a3, and now important choice. Mamedyarov took on d2. Another possible line is bishop d6 here. And if, for example, queen a4, bishop d7, queen takes c4, bishop c6, knight c3, for example, knight d7, castle, castle, this type of position. It's a complicated game. Somewhere black wants to play e5, somewhere knight e4 is possible, so this is another topic. But bishop takes d2 undoubtedly is more concrete approach. So knight takes d2, b5. Okay, queen takes d2 is possible, but queen takes d2 about Keres attack in Sicilian. Yes, it's promising line, and usually in last time black prefers not allow Keres attack. If black allows Keres attack, usually after g4 they are playing h6. I mean experts like Sergei Movsesyan or David Navarra, who likes to play Keres attack. Not Go I played only one time in my life, so I'm not fan of Go. Alexander Morozevich is a big fan of Go, but not me. So after, but other games I I see names the first time. So after queen takes d2, c6 is correct. Immediately b5 is not good because queen g5, of course. So after c6, black are prepared to play b5. Correct spelling is Wijk. Wijk. Okay, I'm not sure. Okay, if I do it incorrect, please forgive me. So c6 idea that knight e5 now it's not so strong because after b5, knight takes c6, queen b6, black has quite comfortable game. So a4, now b5, knight e4, and then knight d6 possible to play as well. But main line is b5, a takes b5, c takes b5, queen g5, castle, queen takes b5, bishop a6, and idea of black if queen takes a5 to play bishop b7, queen takes d8, rook takes a1. Now rook takes b1 with check is unpleasant threat, so if white is just taking and playing castle, black has rook e2, and this endgame is pretty drawish. So Shankland chose another line. He took this knight, b5, b3, and now, of course, black can just take a pawn, but white has quite a good compensation. Possible to take with queen and then castle and rook fc1. Also possible to take with knight, with idea knight c5. I don't know. Okay, maybe with queen more precise, because after this black probably can activate his bishop if knight c5, bishop d5. So I'm not sure how good it's. So for example, this is possible: c6, castle, maybe e3, or maybe rook fc1 firstly. Bishop e7, for example, e3, knight d7, knight e1, something like this, and then knight d3 is coming, and white has quite a strong pressure. So, okay, it were such games, but Mamedjarov preferred c3, so he immediately giving back his pawn, but finished development. Knight takes c3. By structure, white looks better, but of course there is concrete play. So, queen c2, bishop e2, queen b8, queen b7. Okay, so if allows white to have knight on d3, and white can have total control over the board, but black immediately preparing contraplay. So rook e8, knight f4, b takes a3, e5. Now for white was also not so easy to improve his position, because okay, congratulations with your 1 minute draw. Okay, so after rook takes e5, I want to explain that, of course, pawn structure is better for white, and if he matched this position without queens, so it's white can enjoy with a long-term advantage. But with queens, sometimes black can have contraplay against king. Imagine that black queen can go somewhere to h3, or there are ideas with rook h5, knight g4. But okay, we'll see. So knight d3, rook e7. So black wants to play rook e8 and provocate e3, and then knight g4, knight e5 is possible plan. Utilize f3 square. Somewhere h5, h4 is possible plan as well. Try to attack white king. Okay, rook h5 was possible as well with another ideas, maybe to prepare knight g4, but of course, if white wants, they can consider knight f4 move repetition, but I'm not sure that exactly this wanted Shankland. Probably queen c2 is possible with idea not only attack the pawn, but also prepare queen c6. So rook e7 looks like logical. Knight c3. I'm not sure about knight c3, but what is alternative? Okay, alternative can be something like this, and if this idea to prepare rook ac1, it's possible alternative. But knight c3, knight e5, takes, rook ce1, h5. And again, black has some contraplay. Before, there is no threat to take on a5, and black are ready already to push h4 and try to play h3, create unpleasant threats in zone of white king. So rook a4, Sam blocked h4. Yes, I played several times against Bogdan Diak. Okay, I never played in ISL of Man, so I played draw against him in Berlin Defense, but it was tournament in Forni di Sopra. Forni di Sopra. Okay, no problem. So yes, it's in, and I also I had a few games with him online. Quite talented, interesting player, yes, and very good prepared theoretically, like the majority of Romanian and Hungarian. So, Romanian and Hungarian players, okay, there are players from different level, but usually they know theory very well. Queen b6. Rook c4, rook e8. No, queen b6 is idea to just protect the a5 pawn immediately, because after rook a e8, white can take on a5. So rook c4, rook d1, queen c2, queen h3. So Mamidyarov played queen h3 and offered a draw, and Shankland accepted. So why? Of course, white can play rook h4 now, and after queen somewhere e6, for example, come back with rook to c4, this move repetition. So if white wants to play for a win, they can consider f3. Also, it looks a little bit risky, because e3 square will be weak, g3 square is weak, so I don't know what is it. For example, black can play this, and if rook takes c7, h4 is not so pleasant. After g4, knight takes g4, even necessary to consider. I am not pretty sure that this is it works, but okay, we can check. For example, h4, g4, knight takes g4, f takes g4, and now queen takes g4, it's possible, but not only move, or also rook g3, it's possible to consider like idea. Yes, after rook g3, for example, black at least has draw, because after takes, if king h1, queen h3, if king f1, this, and easy to see that white cannot avoid perpetual check, because if king e1, queen g3, keep king d2, queen e3 check, and perpetual here. So this is, of course, rook takes c7, not necessary, but it's a good illustration that black has his counter chances, because white king, it's a little bit weak. So Sam Shankland accepted to draw, I think, with rook h4 and rook c4. So draw. Okay, what else? So it was no fight against leaders, so very quick draw. Okay, so knight d6, knight e5, bishop e7. In this position, usually white is playing knight f3, it's the main move. And after castle, d4, d5, and now There are three moves. Really? Is it any problem with stream? Is it any problem with stream, or everybody can hear me well? Yes, I will check all games today, don't worry, but now I want to check if everything is okay with stream. Sorry? Ah, okay, so no problem, good. Well, so d4, d5, and now main moves are g3, c3, or knight c3. For example, if knight c3, main theoretical recommendations bishop b4, if a3, bishop a5. This idea bishop b6 or knight c7, c6, bishop c7, this plan. There is also bishop d3, it's quite strange move, but black can take here, and after this d6 and equalize. Also knight fd4 is possible. So knight f3 is the main line, but Sergei decide played c3, takes d6, d4, d5, and queen f3, and they repeated moves. Okay, so both didn't want to play. For example, even this position, if there is desire to play, it's possible to play queen d2 and just play this equal position. For example, c6, bishop takes d6, queen takes d6, knight a3, and then knight c2. Okay, it's of course no advantage. Okay, that this is equal position, but still possible to play. But they decide. Okay, Karyakin decide to play queen f3, and Carlsen decide to make move repetition. So even now, White could play this if they want to play it. Okay, but Sergei accepted draw. So not so attractive game, but okay. So Carlsen with this draw kept his leading position. So let's try to see something more. Giri Duda, quite interesting game. So today was two games with line Mikinas variation, e4. So Duda played d5, Giri played e5. Another popular line here is cd, ed, e5, knight e4. Now, because now d4, it's quite... sorry, is it any problem with stream? So d4 is dubious line, because this position is better for white. For example, this. Bishop c3 is possible, or just knight f3 is possible, and then bishop c3. But first of all, I want to be sure if everything is good with my stream. Can somebody confirm, or confirm opposite that I need to restart? Black screen. Delete and install Twitch again if you are on phone. We have to wait. Okay, no problem for me. Okay, so for somebody problem, for somebody I cannot see stream well. Okay, anyway, because of this, I will take 10 minutes break, and we'll check if what can I do. So 10-minute break today I'm doing. So I'm here again. Are there any spectators? I'm waiting for somebody who will listen me. Hi, so I'm here again. So I just explained that after e5, d4 it's a dangerous line because now after bishop c3, white has very strong initiative. So after e5, it's better for black to play knight e4. Now there are a few moves. Knight f3, it's possible. d3, knight takes c3, b takes c3, it's possible as well. But not a good idea to take the pawn because after this and queen d4, queen takes d4, knight takes d4, bishop d3, bishop e6, and then long castle. Black has more than enough compensation for the pawn. But after e5, immediately d4 is the best according to theory, because if now knight e4, white can play knight f3, and at the moment black cannot play bishop f5 like without here, for example. Here, if knight f3, black can play bishop f5 because, for example, queen b3, it's undoubtedly not good idea because after knight c5, queen takes d5. Need to remember knight c6 simply. Black has more than enough compensation for the pawn because the idea of black, queen takes d5 and block castle if, for example, d4. d4 also knight b4 is strong. So this. Black now maybe bishop d3. It's knight takes a1 is possible, or even this line is possible probably. Bishop takes g2. So usually strong players not playing queen b3 here. So white is playing usually d3, knight takes c3, b takes c3, or just bishop e2. Also, of course, d4 is possible move with idea bishop d3. So there are a lot of theory, many games was played. Okay, so e5. In the game we have e5 immediately, d4, e takes f6, b takes c3, main move. Although Bahadur Jabava played here d takes c3. And after this, g takes f6, he played g3. It's a little bit strange idea after bishop d7, bishop g2, bishop c6, bishop f3. And then bishop e3, quite complicated endgame, but okay, objectively, white has no advantage here. So b takes c3 main move, queen takes f6, knight f3, and now c5, it's not the most common move here. Much more popular here moves like b6 or e5. Duda played c5 and Anish played bishop d3. Also not the main reaction according to theory. d4 is main recommendation. If c takes d4, bishop g5, important intermediate move. Only after queen f5, c takes d4, and just white is prepared to play bishop d3. If, for example, bishop d5, bishop d2, queen a5, rook b1, bishop d2, Of course, not possible knight c6 because rook takes b4 and queen b3 or queen b1. So this kind of position white is slightly bad. Also possible start with knight c6, of course, bishop d3 and bishop d3. No, okay, bishop b4, king f1 is possible, and then rook b1 or queen c2. This. Unfortunately, I don't remember concrete variation, but I remember that according to theory, white has strong position here, maybe after bishop a4, e4. Don't know. So this is at least the main line, d4, and after c takes d4, bishop g5. But Giri prefer bishop d3. Bishop d3, it's more common in other situation. I mean, after e5. Now bishop d3, it's very popular line because white has idea castle, rook e1, immediately attack the pawn. And for example, if bishop d6, castle, if for example castle automatically, this is not good because queen c2 is coming, and after h6 bishop e4 and then d4 is coming, or bishop h7 check and then bishop e4 and d4. So the main theory as here is knight a6, idea to have knight c5 after bishop e4, so after bishop c2, bishop g4, d4, so something like this. Complicated endgame. So it were games like Aronian Naidic, something like this. White has two bishops, but black has better pawn structure, so it's approximately equal. So after c5, instead of natural d4 and main theoretical line, Anish decide to play bishop d3, bishop d7, also very natural reaction, knight c6, castle, and it looks like in general black solved his opening problem successfully. d4, white is still fighting for initiative, but also there is weakness of this move because now pawn d4, it's in vulnerable positions. And now, okay, black has choice. Knight e5 is threat, so black needs to react, and also bishop g5 is threat, so black need to exchange queens. So queen f5 is possible, or queen g6. So Duda choose queen g6. Okay, queen f5 was interested as well. So obviously white needs to take, he takes. Now pawn is under attack. If bishop e4, even this idea is possible. Yes, this. It looks like everything is okay for black. If knight e5, black has rook e8 or bishop d6. So queen f5 was a very reasonable alternative, but young Krzysztof preferred queen g6, and now bishop e3. So black has no motive f5, f4. And now white can hardly demonstrate something. d5, yeah, but okay, d5 looks like a big positional mistake because after knight a5, how to defend the pawn. Knight e5 not possible because rook e8. After knight d2, bishop d6, and okay, white has very passive position, and in future they will lost pawn c4. So this is cannot be recommended for white because knight on d2, rook b5, b6. White has no play, and black can easily improve his position. So queen f5 was very serious move. So queen g6 probably very solid but less active, because now black cannot attack white bishop immediately. So f6. Positional idea, black wants to provoke d takes c5 and then play e5, probably not allow knight d4. There is also idea rook h5 in some variation, but probably after rook h5 there is no direct threat, and white can react even this with idea if bishop takes c5 to play g4 in exchange. So it's just possible to play instead of rook h5 to play e5 and then bishop e7, rook d7, another rook to d8, and white has a positional problem with such a pawn structure. So king e2. It's understandable that Anish doesn't want to hurry take on c5, g5, h3, bishop e7. But now he took on c5 finally, because probably he didn't see any reasonable plan. Okay, rook h d1 is possible, but black can also wait with rook d7, knight a5 even. So d takes c5. So now knight d4 is threat, so black blocked this idea. Rook bd1. I don't know why rook bd1. Why not rook hd1? What was point of that Anish chose exactly this rook? Difficult to understand. Okay, knight a5, knight d2. So probably he expected knight a5, knight d2, and decides that in some variation g2, g4 can be useful, and for this goal rook need defend pawn h3. But okay, from other points of view, it's possible to play this if knight a5, knight d2 with idea rook b5. Okay, rook b5 is not nothing special, because black just can come back with knight on c6, or to play, for example, rook d7 if rook b8, b5, bishop d8. So, okay, so it was a choice of Anish. Rook d7, and rook came back to f5. So it's logically strange play from white. Rook bd1 and then rook db1. Probably he made mistake, and in this moment he admit this mistake. f5. Okay, f5 wasn't necessary. For, black has many alternatives. For example, this is possible to consider with idea to transfer bishop on c7, protect knight a5, and then rook hd8. In future, it's also possible to consider plan somewhere to transfer knight on king to c6, but it's not so quickly. But in future, it's possible plan if image, for example, that pair of rooks will be changed somehow. Okay, so f5, it's sharp move, because now black pawns are not protected. So f3, rook b2. Anish defended. f4 was unpleasant threat. Rook c2 again. And now g4. So white started his contraplay. g6 and rook g1. Thanks for your wishes. So after rook g1, its position is very sharp. White still pawn up, although the pawn structure is strange. But now pawn g5 under attack, so black need to do something concrete. And e4. If takes the pawn, f4 is unpleasant, with idea to take on h3 with rook, and black will have two passive pawns. So bishop takes g5, very natural reaction, and e3. So black is fighting for initiative, but knight takes c4. f4 played Anish, I'm trying to understand why not. So if rook takes f5, probably the problem is with knight a3, and if rook c1, knight b5. So black wants to take on c3, and white cannot play knight d4 with rook on f5 because of this obvious motives. I said this is explanations why Anish preferred f4 move. Okay, maybe also after knight a3, rook c1 was possible. Yeah, but again, knight b5 is idea to take on c3, and it's pretty unpleasant. So f4 is much more flexible. Black did the same plan, but now knight d4 is possible because rook is not on f5, and black has no this tactical motive. So black cannot play for win anymore. So because of this, young Krzysztof decided to force draw by elegant ways. Nice perpetual check, which obviously white cannot avoid. Because if okay, king b3 it's possible, of course, but after king b3, rook takes d4, king takes b2, rook takes f4, it is dead draw anyway after h4, for example. So okay, very interesting game, and it is draw. And in Mikina's variation today were another game between Rapport and Caruana. So e5. But c5 played instead of Rapport played c5 instead of d5. Is it everything okay with my stream? I hope everybody can hear and see me well. I hope yes. Okay, good. So c5 was choice of Rapport, and now e5 played Caruana as a totally possible line for white is knight f3 here. And after knight c6 to play bishop e2. And if d5, just take and play d4, how it was in my game against Vichy Arnold. This position is slightly more pleasant for white. For example, after bishop e6, it is possible to take on d5. Knight takes d5, to play castle. And for example, after bishop e7, takes on c5. Knight takes c3, b takes c3, bishop takes c5, knight g5. This position, according to theory, it's more pleasant for white. Oh, another totally different type of position can appear if black plays e5. It's closer position. So here white plans is d3, castle, knight e1, knight c2 in future possible, or rook b1, a3, b4. So Sergei Rublevsky is expert in this line, but he used this line with white. He used it to play this line with white by different move order. I mean e4, c5, knight f3, e6, c4, knight c6, knight c3, knight f6, bishop e2. d4 is another possible line, but okay, now after this bishop b4, knight takes c6, there are two captures, b takes c6, bishop d3, leads to quite complicated game. If d takes c6, white is slightly better in this endgame after a3, bishop c3, b takes c3. So b takes c6, bishop d3, e5, castle, many games was played here. So, okay, let's come back to Caruana Rapport game. So knight f3, knight c6, bishop e2 was possible, or d4 here as I explained it. But e5, knight g8, And now, according to theory, the most aggressive line is knight f3, knight c6, d4, c takes d4. Tamam. Türkçe konuşmak olabilir. Biraz unuttum çünkü pratik yok. Fakat bir şey hatırlıyorum. Tamam. C takes d4. Knight takes d4, knight takes e5, so this is the main theoretical line. Knight b5, a6, knight d6, bishop takes d6, queen takes d6, f6, bishop e3, knight e7, bishop b6, knight f5, and now there are two possibilities. Bishop takes d8 and bishop c7. It's one possibility. Black cannot take the pawn. Because if knight d takes c4, f4 is coming. If knight e takes c4, b3 is coming. So the main move is knight f5, something like this. King d7, sorry. King e7 and then knight e8. White has very good compensation. Another promising line is here is queen c5, d6, queen a5. What Kasparov played against Belyavsky. And then queen d7, f4, knight c6, queen a3, something like this. E4, c5, bishop c5, bishop e3, queen b6, knight f5. Okay. Okay, I will come back to this line, but at the moment I want to focus attention here. So knight f3 with pawn sacrifice is the most aggressive line. Also a6 possible, but now already this line more reasonable because obviously knight f3 it's more useful move for white than a6 for black. And now white can consider queen e4, queen f4, both is possible. But okay, so in the game Caruana played d4 immediately, c takes d4, so queen f4, it's very rare line. So usually white is playing queen e4 in this position. And after d6, knight f3. This is the main theory. But there are nothing special after d takes e5, knight takes e5. Now, if knight f6, knight takes c6, white is slightly better. Dubov played. Okay. So, according to my knowledge, bishop d7 is the main line, and white has nothing special. Black is prepared for knight f6. But okay, so queen f4, real line, and now instead of d6, also knight g7 it's possible to consider. For example, knight g7, knight f3, knight g6, and queen goes somewhere, d6. Queen e3 or queen e4, or queen g3, I don't know what is the main move here according to theory. But okay, so surely Caruana prepared something against this rapport play. d6, logical move, knight f3, and knight h6, also logical move. Idea that after d takes e5, knight takes e5, black cannot play bishop d6 because of mate. So black defended f7 square, and now black already take on e5 and play bishop d6 if, for example, bishop e2. I think this is possible. This type of position. Okay, e takes d6 doesn't look like a logical move, by the way. So bishop e2 anyway looks more logical for me. For example, in this position to play queen f3, castle. Okay, queen takes c6, rook b8 is dangerous, but now I want to play rook d1 probably and play this position. If I am still married, yes, I'm married from 2006. But why this is so interesting for you? I don't understand. Okay, by the way, it takes d6 a little bit strange because now, okay, I will. Because after bishop, this allows take on d6 with Stampy and black solved all the opening problems. So after queen g5, now I don't know. Probably Caruana expected here a castle to play this endgame, and somehow he liked this position for white. But frankly speaking, I have no idea what is. Why white can. Okay, congratulations. Why white can have advantage here? I have no idea. It looks like black is totally okay because structure is not worse development also, but Rapport played differently. So he took on g5 and played f5. So very original. So, I think that not many players would play this with black. So take on a6 I don't like so much because black will have a very strong bishop pair. But in my opinion, looks very natural to play simply bishop e2. And if knight f7 to play bishop e3 and just play this position. It's very flexible position, so white can consider in future both castle, long castle or short castle, more likely short castle, and then slowly prepare e3 before. Okay, e5 black has contraplay, of course, so white need to be careful somehow, but I don't think that this is so dangerous. For example, I can play rook d1, if e4, knight d4, if f4, knight b5, so. But Caruana played castle and Rapport immediately attacked the pawn, and now white need to do something because f5 idea to prepare knight f7. Okay, also against knight e4, that's right, but main idea to prepare knight f7. But long castle looks strange because now white has obvious problem with f2 pawn and structure after bishop e3, bishop takes e3, knight b4, where knight b4? I don't understand where knight b4 you mean. So my proposition is bishop e2 and if knight f7, bishop e3. Knight b5 here. Okay, knight b5 it's possible, but anyway, black knight will go to f7, so d6 square will be good protected, and so I don't see special advantage for white. So, for example, knight b5, bishop b8. Next move will be knight f7 and then a6. So, because of this, I prepare to keep knight on c3 to have after e6, e5 to have knight d5. So Here knight b5. Okay, bishop b. Here knight b5. Yes, was possible, but what is idea if black just castle? So white has problem with f2 pawn, and black wants to take or wants to play knight g4. So very strange choice for me. When is good? Okay, it depends of concrete reasons when it's good. It depends of development. So first of all, both needs to coordinate their pieces. Rook d2, knight g4 is coming. So now rook d2 is possible, but knight g4 it's not so pleasant. Oh, Caruana played knight e5. Okay, tactical trick, but not so strong, because after knight f7, good defense, knight takes c6, b takes c6. White has no time to play f3. So if, for example, we match position bishop d2, black playing some move like king e7 and f3, this is good position, but pawn is under attack, so white should play bishop e3, and this structure not so good for white, because black has excellent square e5 for his knight. Bishop h4 obviously not possible because g5 and f4. So bishop e3, this king e7, and now black has real contraplay. Thanks for subscription. Knight h4, h5, knight c5, h4. So black is pushing pawn, so knight will go to e5. Of course, white can defend, try to defend carefully. So black at the moment, black has no special threats. Even h3, g3, I am not sure. If black plays h3, white plays g3, I am not sure that this is useful for black. So, in my opinion, very logical looks to play just king c2 and next move king c3, and then just to see what black will do. If knight will come to e5 somewhere, in some moment white can consider even knight d3 to play. Also, it's carefully, so better not hurry, because knight on c5 is strong, and he is blocking bishop on c8. So probably white plan in future will be b4 or rook d4 and rook hd1. So complicated endgame, more or less equal. But g4 is strange, because white is playing in flank where they are weaker. So they are stronger in queen's flank, in king's flank. It's a different situation. Rapport immediately attacking. And now rook d4, I'm not sure that tactically it is good move. Probably rook hg1, it's correct move. After f takes g4, bishop takes g4. Knight takes c4 is possible, but it's possible that white will have good compensation after, for example, this, and rook d3, and then rook takes g5 because of passive bishop on c8. So, but rook d4, probably he just missed e5, and now it's obvious that white is doing something wrong, because bishop now has square f5, and black achieved a lot of progress in king's flank, so probably it was a miscalculation. But for me, g4 is very... e4, okay, after e4 always f4 necessary to consider. Okay, sometimes it's possible, but if I mean this structure e4 f4, I don't know. Okay, so rook d4 is very strange, and rook h6. Now it's obvious that black is better because there are strong passed pawns, and bishop is stronger than knight, much stronger even. So, and Rapport won this game. Okay, probably white could defend better somehow, but it's difficult position anyway because strong pawns. Knight g2, g3. If hg, h3, rook h1, h2, and white has no defense against bishop e4, so elegant finish. Okay, so good victory for Richard Rapport today. Aha, Czech variant Sicilian. Okay, I can do it. Just a moment. So c3, e5. Oh, okay, first of all, according to my knowledge, d4 is not the best move. So bishop c4 is the best move here. After d4, according to my knowledge, the best for black is not play bishop c5, but knight f6 is the best move. With idea after knight takes c6 to take with this pawn and play this endgame. So. Then king can go to c7 or e7, or if white is playing knight c3, bishop b4, the same idea. Knight takes c6, d takes c6, queen takes d8, this. And this endgame, it's totally okay for black, because if, for example, bishop d2, bishop e6, castle, king e7, and white cannot utilize tactical tricks here, because if, for example, e5, knight g4, knight d5, bishop takes d5, bishop takes b4, king e6, there is double attack. White is losing the pawn without sufficient compensation. Another interesting line, bishop c4 is here. This is interesting line, but not brings advantage because knight takes e4 is correct. Castle. Bishop takes c3 is correct. B takes c3. Now d5. Castle, bishop a3, it's dangerous for black somehow. So d5 is the best move, according to my knowledge. And after bishop b5, just castle. And now after knight takes c6, b takes c6, bishop takes c6, bishop a6. This is drawish line. Take on c3, not so good. So I remember that this line is the best for black, and this is drawish. And okay, so knight f6 is better, but bishop c5, okay, but you consider it bishop e3 with b6, but why not just play knight b3? So if compare with Scotch game, there are no c7 and c2 pawn. And this is obviously in favor of both white, because now black pawn d7, or if it will be d6, it's target for attack. Probably not direct attack, but positionally white is better. For example, this, d6, bishop e2, and then castle, and then bishop f4. So obviously, for black, it's much better to have this position with pawns on c2 and c7. Okay, so I will go back to another game. So Yesipenko won today d3, bishop c5, knight d2 or knight c3 in French. Okay, matter of taste. Played both. h6. So h6 is idea to avoid lines with bishop g5 or with knight a4. So I played knight a4 against Levon Aronia. And after bishop b6, knight takes b6, c3, This was castle, castle, h6, bishop b3. It was my game against Levon Aronian. Another possible line is bishop g5, and after h6, takes, knight d5, queen d8. Instead, yes, castle, here, castle. Yes, castle is possible, of course. But after castle, white has more reason to play bishop g5, h6, bishop h4. Because g5 push with king on g8 is more risky than with king on e8. Also, of course, white can castle as well, and if d6 to play knight a4 and go to my game against Arunia. So here another interesting line, c3, and for example, castle, d4, knight b6. Okay, now if castle b4, sorry, it's the strongest way. If bishop b6, a4. Now white is better because a6, knight takes b6, and white has better structure, some advantage in this position. So instead of castle, okay, there is possibility knight e7, for example, d4, knight takes d5, d takes c5, knight f4, g3, knight h3. It's a very complicated game. It's not only possibility. So h6, I don't know what exactly wanted to avoid Van Forest, knight a4 line or bishop g5 line, but okay, h6 is totally possible move, very flexible move. So bishop e3, white wants to open f line for attack. So if black is taken, f takes e3, and then possible plan castle, queen e1, knight h4, something like this. So bishop b6, black doesn't want to open, so knight d5, d6, doesn't afraid knight b6 or bishop b6, so h3, bishop takes e3. Now knight a5, so it's obvious that white didn't achieve advantage from the opening. So takes, castle, queen e7, queen e1. Okay, so without bishop on b3, white has no real chances to organize attack. So in my opinion, black could play without f5, so to play some move like bishop d7, if knight h4, g6 is possible. But Van Forest decided to simplify position, and now he made quite strange choice. He took with rook, much more natural, in my opinion, to take with bishop, and I don't see any advantage for white. So queen b4, b6 is possible, c5 is possible. So knight h4, okay, black can play any move. So bishop h7, it's possible, but even bishop e6, I don't see any problem, because if rook takes f8, queen takes f8. Knight g6, obviously, I can take it. So after bishop takes f5, in my opinion, position is totally equal, so I don't see any dangers for black. But he took with rook, and now after queen b4, things are not so pleasant, because after b6, white has queen e4, so for black it's not so easy to finish his development comfortably. So for me, rook takes f5 is very strange move. Although even f5, it's totally wasn't necessary. So instead of f5, black could play, for example, bishop d7. I don't see any dangers for black. Knight h4, g6, if queen g3, queen g5, and attack is stopped. So, and then black can just play a6 and on, and rook a e8. So just play normal moves. Okay, hardly he wanted to win. I don't think so. So, if he wanted to win, it's more logical not play f5 and uh, try in future utilize weakness of double pawn. So f5 he wanted to make quick draw, I think, but probably. And after bishop takes f5, quick draw was very real, but he took with rook, and now after queen b4 he faced unpleasant problem, because what to do with bishop? b6 queen e4 is not works, so after c5 it's already some weakness. So queen e4 still, and rook on f5 is strange, knight h4. So, okay, Andrei Yesipenko playing concrete and good, but probably white still has no anything special if black plays rook f7, for example. So rook f8 is worse, because rook takes f8 and black cannot take with rook, but rook f7 is possible. And if, for example, rook f7, queen f7, rook f1, okay, queen d7, next move rook f8 is coming. No, depends. Of course, after knight e5, rook f8 is not good, because this motif. And white is winning, but after knight f5, okay, black can do something else. Even king h8 may be possible to prepare rook f8. Knight g6 here. Okay, knight g6 is possible, but white has no any threat. Black can play Shamlar. Black can play bishop f7 immediately, or firstly to play rook e8, for example, and later play bishop f7, or bishop f7 immediately, probably the simplest. This idea to take on g6 and play rook f8 to exchange everything. So, but he played rook g5. It's strange for me, because now he's losing control on f line. Queen f3, a6, e4. Rook g8, rook f2. Okay, nothing special for white, but rook on g5, it's really strange. And not so clear how to come back with this rook to f line. This is some advantage for white. And at the moment, knight is more tricky piece than bishop. So white has advantage. Okay, at the moment also a4 pawn, rook d8, rook d8, where rook d8? Why rook d8? I don't know why rook d8, but what to play? Rook f8 maybe was better. Looks more natural, at least. But probably he afraid about his rook on g5 in endgame, that somewhere g4 is possible. Okay, maybe not immediately. Okay, because if imagine that g4, king h2, king g3, very strange rook, but immediately after g4, black has h5, and after knight f3, rook g6, so white can play king h2 immediately and try to prepare g4 on next move, for example, this. Now, if h5, knight f3, rook g6, now white can consider g takes h5 and rook g1. I'm not sure that this is enough, because king f6, then rook takes h5. If rook g5, bishop f7, probably black can defend this, but okay, so if not enough this, g5 also option, and black again has quite a strange rook, so this is not easy draw anymore. So queen b8, move 27. Okay, maybe it was better, but anyway, position it's already worse for black. So white, queen a5, rook f2. So, and now it's obvious that black totally lost coordination with their pieces, and for white everything are optimal. Rook e2, what is the idea? If queen takes d6, he wants queen e1, create some counterplay. If queen f8 back, queen e3, probably something like this. I don't know also how serious is this, but because after queen e3, queen f3, so maybe it was possible to take bishop e6, so queen takes d6. What was problem? Maybe this and bishop takes h3 was idea. Maybe this is problem for Andrei, and he cannot take the bishop. Yes, now, of course, Andrei didn't want to allow this. So rook e2. Now e1 square under control, and black has no counterplay, and d6 is a real weakness. a3 takes. So queen takes c5. White wants the pawn, and black has still serious problem with his rook on g5. So gradually Andrei won in this position. h4. Again, the rook is suffering. So this game is a suffer of black rook. Black has no any counterplay. Yes. Very unlucky rook. So Andrei won. Good technical game. So congratulations to Andrei. Okay, what else we have today? Karyakin Carlson we have seen already. So Yesipenko, Mikena's Gambit we have seen games. Mamidyarov we have seen against Shankland. Pragnanda видит. So Pragananda repeating line from his game against Rapport, but Rapport play queen g3. Vidit playing queen f3, different line. Don't know which line is better. Also queen c2 is existing line. So queen c2 is possible as well. So queen f3 or queen g3. So 3 moves are possible. As I mentioned, instead of c5, also possible h6. Bishop takes f6, queen takes f6. If bishop h4, black has more reason to play c5. So this version is better for black than without h6, bishop h4. Okay, so c5. Queen f3, knight bd7, e3. I think this is preparation. Castle e5. Bishop g4 is threat, so knight e2, d3, knight c3. It seems me like theory. I have seen something like this before. For Vidit versus Ganguly. Okay, and what is difference? Queen c7 was blunder. Okay, move 28. Now we are on move 15. Okay, so queen g3, queen takes c5, rook d2. So it's so obvious. I don't know. So rook d2. Rook d2 is first new move. And so what was old move instead of rook d2? If rook d2 is new move, what is another move? f4 or what? f4 is possible or not? I don't know. Maybe after f4, bishop f5 is idea with good compensation. At least understandable move. e6. b4. Okay, very brave move because e4. e4 instead of rook d2. Here e4, right? Yes, I played simul. Simul? Yes, simuls I played in Turkey, surely. e4, okay, it's possible with idea queen e3 to prepare. But maybe bishop e6 now. If b3, b3, queen takes a3, so bishop e6 is logical. Okay, so rook d2, quite complicated position. b4, okay, it's looks like risky, but what is alternative? Okay, bishop e2 looks like normal for me. So why not bishop e2, for example? I don't understand. Because if black is taken on c4, I will just take and take on e5. So I'm prepared for rook hd1. So if b5, okay, I can consider b4, probably. So, and then c5. I don't know how strong it is, but at least interesting. So bishop e2 looks... okay, maybe it was prepared something concrete here, but anyway, bishop e2 looks like more natural than b4, because b4 is from... okay, we did play it fast, but okay, it fast not always seems same good, so it's probably fast not always means good. So okay, for me not clear why bishop e2 natural move is worse. Take on c4, I will take on c4 and take on e5. Okay, so probably nothing wrong, but I have a pawn up at the moment. And please show me your compensation. Okay, maybe there is, but black should demonstrate this. Okay, top engine move. Okay, sorry, I didn't see what is proposition of engine, but I rook fd8 now. Okay, rook fd8 now. Idea if rook hd1 to take and then check and take. Yes, black has compensation, but for example, I can try this and take with king, with idea king e1. At least I don't see special risk for white. Okay, probably black has enough compensation, but okay, so before risky move. So and now black has long-term compensation because of open position of white king. But okay, we can see a5 natural move. So b5, is queen c4. So all black's moves are very natural. Okay, and now at the first glance it's not so pleasant for white because a4 is coming, queen b3. So I don't know why Witted went into such position, which is practically quite inferior for him. Okay, maybe with many precise moves it's possible to play this, but not easy. For example, rook b1, it's possible, a4. If king a1, rook c8. So in practical game, more easy to play with black. So rook c1, a4. So white is suffering. So knight on b8 instead of knight on f6 and queen f5, queen c4. White is 2 pawns up, but still problem with his king. Rook e4, strange move. Okay, maybe totally possible that this position is okay for white if they play very precise. For example, rook e4 he played. Maybe rook d4 was better after knight c5. Some move like king b2 or something like this, but it's always the yes, rook d4, knight c5, and king b2 probably, or queen c2 probably. So, but in practical game, it's not easy to play because black has many threats. Somewhere queen b7, queen h1 is idea. So it's not easy job for white with such a open king. So queen f4. What is my next tournament? Okay, I don't know. Queen e7 instead of knight b1 was bad. Let's see. Knight b1. But he played knight b1. What is move number? Here queen e7. Yes. Yes, maybe it was better. Yes, looks logical to prepare queen b4. Yes, maybe. You're right. But okay, I need to calculate. For example, rook c8, if queen b4, black has this idea. And if knight takes e4, a3 is coming. And if king b1, a2, rook a2, rook takes c1, and rook takes e2, and black is winning. Okay, at least good winning chances. So, how to improve this variation? Right. Now king a1 probably what? Okay, maybe king a1. This idea if knight e4 rook d4, but okay, it's very shaky position for white. Okay, maybe with precise play it's possible do it, but it's not easy. Okay, so he took on h6, took on b5, a4, a4 also. And now again, so, and knight takes a4. Now, frankly speaking, first, which I would consider if I am white, would be queen takes a4. After rook e8, just take. And to play king b2. And white has quite a good chances to build fortress. b5, b4. So, okay, black has winning chances after b5, but I hope that... Okay, maybe after b5 not so easy to make fortress as well. Rook a8 instead of rook d8. Here rook a8 winning, okay, maybe winning, but it's complicated. So rook d8 is natural. So now, what about g5 to stop h5 and prepare queen g2? In which move g5? Queen. White has permanent problem with king, so this is... Yeah, g5 h4. So I think black needs to advance b pawn as far as possible and try to create tactical threats. Because if g5 h4, g takes h4, g takes h4, even if black will take this pawn, this is not a big progress can be. For example, if somewhere, if image that white will lost h4 pawn, then they will give knight against pawn b6 and transfer rook on f4, it's very likely this is draw. Some kind of fortress. I am not 100% sure, but it's very possible. So rook c8, queen e7. And okay, so hard position for Vidit, probably losing. So okay, but they are still playing, or already they are finished. Who knows? Are there already result of this game? Or they are still playing something? Prague won. Okay, so okay, and for today, last game, Dubov Grandelius e4 c5. So very strange move order, queen e2. Okay, more flexible here is to play castle, of course, and after knight f6 to play queen e2, because now after e6 it's not necessary to play c3. White has other plans, for example, b3 is possible, and then white plans bishop b2, c4, d4, and c takes d4, take with knight or with bishop, and to have Marozzi structure. But okay, if even if use c3 plan, so normal to play c3 here, and after bishop e7, d4, and after this, d5, e5, knight e4. Now it's possible to play bishop e3 or knight e1 immediately to prepare f3, and black should play f5 probably, because f3 is unpleasant threat. And after f5, white can consider this type of position, and then knight c3, or it's possible just take, and after bishop f6, knight c3. So for me, very strange moments after knight f6, why he played d4 immediately. So normally white is playing castle, and only after bishop e7, d4. Okay, probably he wanted to afraid castle here, and after e5, knight e8 or knight d5, probably this was reason to hurry with c3, d4, or he just oh, please check it. But okay, I don't know this game, so probably next time I will see if it really was interesting. Probably here he wanted to avoid lines knight e8 or knight d5, something like this. I don't know other explanation of c3 d4 immediately. So takes d5 e5. Now bishop b4, so extra option. So after castle bishop e7, black has no this option. And if image bishop knight e4 here, anyway, White has nothing better than castle. So bishop b4, exchange it. Solid position. Okay, so of course castle short is classical move, but Dubov decide to play risky. So hard to believe that white king here is more safe than black one, but okay, this is choice of Dubov. h3, queen b6. So idea, of course, if black is hurry with short castle, white can attack with h4, g4, but black not necessary to hurry. Somewhere even long castle is possible. So complicated battle. Say h5, h6, g4, queen b5. Rook c1, and only now Grandelius decide to make castle. So the concrete idea that if g5, h, queen takes g5, queen d3 always, and somewhere knight b4 he's prepared, or knight a5 if white plays a3. But okay, after a3, knight a5 he decide not play, but preferred knight e7. Another very logical move, because now g5 has no logic, because knight will have f5 square. So, and black are ready to exchange all rooks, and after this white will have no any attacks. So it's time to consolidate position. But if we imagine that white won't draw, it's possible to consider queen b3, for example, exchange queens. If black, I agree, of course, queen a6, it's possible. But knight h4, it's looks like way in wrong direction, because white attack hardly can chances for success, and black has very strong counterplay. Knight b6, now knight c4 or knight a4 is coming. So after g5 just take and queen d3, it's unpleasant immediately, or after knight a4 firstly. So, and if attack doesn't work, so for white is problem. So now he came back with knight, so he lost so many tempos. So queen b3 was certainly was much better, but probably Dubov, okay, I am sure that Dubov understand this that his position is not better, but probably he played not according to position, but according his emotional. Probably he wanted to complicate position somehow, but he did it. He just spoiled his position. Although even here, probably after queen a6, already black is slightly better. So black has no obligation to exchange queens, so queen a6 is possible, but at least white has more chances to consolidate positions than now. Now rook c6, black has very easy play, white has no contraplay. Rook b6 is concrete threat, so queen d3, queen b5, and now Dubov agreed to draw, but of course Niels not accepted, because he is clearly better without any risk and without any contraplay from white. So rook c3, and well, f6 is possible, but okay, Niels decided to play in queen's flank, so this is logical plan. And finally, he is much better here. 5, okay, but his position is very safe. So he has no any weakness, so 5 minutes for such a position, it's not a big problem. And he utilized that also practically good. He utilized the possibility to repeat the moves. So he won the pawn. Okay, white has some chances, but it's pawn. Cannot take with rook. Or can. It's also a question, for example. It's possible to consider these ideas as well, but I am not sure that this is enough for me. Who been impressed from today? Rapport impressed me. Okay. Okay, so I have known this game till the end, so probably Dubov had serious chances here, but finally he lost. Okay, so there are some questions I will see. So about Benoni, how to study? How to study? Depends from white or from black. How to study. Okay, so it depends always if a question about opening depends what exactly you want, and if you are black, so it's possible to understand that you can reach Benoni in a different move order. For example, it's possible to reach Benoni with this move order: d4, knight f6, c4, c5 immediately, d5, e6, knight c3 takes and d6, or many players doing this immediately e6 with idea if knight c3 to play bishop b4, and only if knight f3 to play c5, and then Benoni. So idea is not allow some system. For example, if you play immediately this, you need to be well prepared and against this aggressive system. Bishop b5, knight fd7, a4, for example. So it's, without concrete preparation, difficult to play this with black. So if knight on f3, white has no this idea. Also, it's very important to be prepared against this system. h3, for example, bishop g7, bishop d3, castle, knight f3. And now to decide what to do. Yes, queen h4 is possible, g3 and then knight f3 and castle. So many games was played, but usually white has initiative. And now it's important to prepare what you want. If you want to play a6 and knight bd7, or you want to play b5. If you are playing b5, you need to know very well many forced variation. Training games against engine. Okay, I never practiced this method. Okay, if you like to play training games, in my opinion, better to play against the live person, more or less same level as you. But this is my opinion. So because I never played against engines. So. This is Banco Gambit. Okay, it's also interesting, but there are many type of position important to understand. For example, if you are playing Banco Gambit, it's important to understand clearly what will you do in this type position. So g6, knight c3, bishop takes a6, e4, for example, this, d6, knight f3, bishop g7, g3, castle, king g2. So it's very important to understand. The game from Dubov, why not g5, move 19? Why not g5? Let's see. Why not? Kind. Move 19. Here g5. Okay, suppose that black can just take on g5. Okay, let's try. Although knight b4 is possible as well, like alternative. If g takes h6, knight d3, it's another attractive possibility. Yes, h6, g6 was my idea. Then knight b3, b4. Okay, but maybe knight b4 immediately is possible as well. If, for example, g takes h6, knight d3 is coming. So. And white is under very unpleasant attack. Okay, so I remember this request about my game against Jobao, but I will do it after finishing, after knight b4, knight b3, okay, but now queen d3, black always can play if they want. Well, firstly, they can take, because white has no attack and always queen d3 is possible, so g5 wasn't really strong. So objectively, long castle, it's dubious line, but okay, maybe it's enough for equality. And strange move order, as I mentioned already. So usually white is playing d4 after castle if they utilizing this plan. More popular other plans without c3 at all, so b3. For example, Kasparov played g6 against me here after bishop b4, bishop g7. Was something like this before. I don't know why I didn't play c4 natural move. I played rook d1 and he played b5. Now it was good for black, game ended to draw. More natural is c4. Probably I afraid queen a5 idea, not allow knight c3, but okay, it's now rook at d1 it's possible. Later I can play knight bd2 or bishop c3. So. Okay, it's complicated position, rook f d8. So problem for white that knight c3 is not possible because e5, but okay, it's maybe just h3 it's possible to play, or a4 to prepare knight h3, or also after a4 knight c5 it's some problem with pawn, so maybe just h3 to wait, then knight bd2. What is on Veselin Topalov? What is your what is my opinion about Vasilij Topalov? But why is provocative question? Okay, great chess player, of course. So very interesting style, many ideas in opening. So I like him, like chess players. Follow his games, of course. So I don't see anything provocative in your question. During last time he doesn't play so much, but okay, he won some tournaments in Salamanca and in Kabdah, some rapid. So very good player, of course, and one of the hardest opponent for me during my chess career. Do you view you lost to be best game? You mean game which I lost in rapid? Where queen h1, knight h2 mate? Or is it this game you mean? But in that game was unpleasant confuse for me. So I remember that I had two knights. One of my knights was on c6, another knight was on d5, and I wanted to take check from c6 to e7. His king was on g8. But suddenly my hand took another knight, and after wrong check, I was losing. So this is my memory of this game. What about rook c3? Avoid knight b4 instead. Instead g5, rook c3 here. Yes, looks like logical move. And then rook c1. Yes, probably. At least it was much better than knight h4, because knight h4 it's totally wrong direction. After rook c3, okay, white objectively probably slightly worse, but okay, next move rook hc1, so good chance to equalize. Grand Prix attacks. What is Grand Prix attacks? Oh, after knight e7, okay, rook b3 is possible, but also possible just to play this, exchange rooks and play it quiet position. So to study first from the is how much rated. I don't know. I never investigate Grand Prix close Sicilian with f4 and the second move f4 or what? I don't know what is Grand Prix attack. Sorry, I don't know what is this. It's a new name for me. Probably I have seen such a moves. Yes, but your proposition is attack rook b3 here, queen c6, queen d3, knight b6 and g5. But okay, g5 always very risky positionally. So, for example, I'm curious if white's attack are serious here, because black has so strong knight. Okay, h6, h7 trick, so it's possible. h6. Okay, after h6, if g takes h6, rook c3, queen a4. Okay, even g takes h6 is possible to consider. Okay, maybe it's very dangerous because of rook g1, but still not so sure. It takes. Okay, after knight g7, at least rook takes g7 and queen g3 check. So, okay, rook c3. Okay. Black has knight e7. Okay, knight e7 is normal move. Knight a5 is also possible to consider. Try to organize counter attack. Okay, for example, this looks normal. And now maybe queen a6 it's possible as well. And not lost control this 3 square. Now g5, knight f5. So, but okay, white can try to play rook a3 and to make draw somehow. How to train converting good position in winning game. Okay, so I hope do it again at least. After you knight a6, I have knight h4. Queen a6, knight h4, but what is the reason? f4, f5 is plan or what? Looks like a little bit too slow. But okay, maybe it's possible. Black can consider even f6 start. Don't know what is this complicated position. Maybe f4 takes with this pawn, and g5 is prepared, and black cannot penetrate. Goblins, this queen sacrifice, something like this. Okay, so maybe not f6. Okay, maybe white has attacking ideas. Maybe you are totally right. Everything is possible. Knight c3, knight c6, f4 Grand Prix. Okay, so I will leave this. So knight e4, c5, knight c3, knight c6, f4. Okay, I remember that e6. Okay, g6 is very solid line, and then bishop g7. And also e6, Shirov's lines. So Shirov played e6 after knight f3, d5, and after bishop b5, knight... yes, of course, rook c3 was better than knight h4. I totally agree. So, and now this is choice of Shirov. And after e takes d5, black are prepared for a6 and then take with knight. So after e takes d5, e takes d5, queen e2, Shirov just played g6. He wants bishop g7, if queen e5, rook g8, and then bishop g7 is coming soon. And black was good according to some games of Shirov. I don't know if there are any improvement during last time. So okay, we can discuss about this next time. Okay, if Alireza can beat Magnus, okay, it's better to speak about this if they really will play much, because without much, okay, so for example, it's possible to discuss if I can beat Magnus in the match. Okay, it's possible to discuss. Probably I can do it, but there is no such a match planned in nearest future. So, is your Nepo performance against Magnus okay? So I don't know. It was, Jan wasn't experienced like a match fighter, and probably he made too many mistakes during his preparation. So very strange choice of opening, very strange, in my opinion, of course. In my opinion, very strange strategy of match. So I explained many times this. So I commented games on Twitch, all of games, some games more deeply, some games just shortly, but so I expressed already my opinion about this. But okay, I hope this match will be very useful for Knight, and if for Jan, and if he will make correct conclusions from this match, he can start to play stronger than before. Fischer chess, okay, I played several times, but certainly I am not fan of a Fischer chess. Okay, so at the moment it's quite late in Ukraine. It's 11:15 p.m. and obviously I want to sleep now. So what about tomorrow? Is it tomorrow? Is it tomorrow free day or around 11? Who knows? What about tomorrow? Tomorrow free day, right? Tomorrow free day. So I will come back after tomorrow to comment round 11. Good night. Bye.